Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Battlefield Podcast. Today we have a very requested guest, Mr. Westie. Okay, I'm sure some of you know Westie. He's been a YouTuber for longer than I have around the Battlefield franchise. He's been around a long time. Big fan of the Battlefield franchise. We're going to talk all things Battlefield 6 today. He requested no camera, so what's going to happen is this is going to be a little different podcast format. Basically, I'm going to play the game. It's going to be muted in the background. We're going to talk about all this stuff while I play the game. So, welcome to the podcast, Mr. Westie. Thank you for doing this. This will be fun.
Good to be here.
What we're going to talk about today, as I mentioned, we're going to talk all things BF6, specifically the Battle Royale, some of the leaks that have been going on, and all things in between. So, if you want to introduce yourself for the people that somehow don't know who Westie is within Battlefield.
Okay. Hey everyone. I'm Westie. I've been a YouTube content creator for probably the best part of nearly a decade and a half now. That makes me sound really old. But yeah, I've been playing Battlefield games. First Battlefield game I played was Bad Company. Yeah, I never played the old Refractor Engine games, but hey, I'm just a Frostbite guy. But no, and then I just really got into Bad Company 2. That's where my love for the franchise started. And then I started making content around Battlefield 3, which kind of then just morphed into Battlefield 4, and then we kind of went properly from there. But no, I love Battlefield games. I have a love for most of them, not all of them. But hey, I'm sure we'll get into that a little bit in the podcast. But yeah, I'm a big Battlefield fan, and I'm really looking forward to what DICE and EA are making next.
Yeah, maybe near the end we can talk about just the experience you've had creating content from the early titles to the modern titles, and just how it's shifted. Because I've only personally experienced making content for unfortunately the modern titles, and I missed BF1. So
oh man, no, I think you missed a time there. I mean,
yeah.
I'm gonna be honest. I've seen you play the game. I don't know if BF1 would have really been your thing.
Oh no, it's not. I am.
Yeah, exactly. I think maybe if BF1 had the gunplay of BF4, you might have gotten away with it. But I'm not sure you would have enjoyed BF1 that much.
No, I played BF1 a lot. I started streaming BF1 right at the end of its life cycle. My biggest thing with that game is just the movement. I can deal with everything else.
I've been playing a little bit. I made a couple of videos. I was like, I don't want to play 2042, so I just played BF1.
Yeah.
I forgot how actually, I at the time, it felt like the movement was really good.
No.
When it first came out, but the game was I don't know, it was like a step forward in 2016, but now we're in 2025. The game's showing its age, and I didn't really think that was going to be as prevalent as it was. But hey, yeah, the movement in that game is extremely limiting.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you there.
They just want you to all haul up on a corner when you play operations, and everyone stand in the radius of a frag grenade, and you all die.
Or a sweet spot sniper.
Oh man,
don't even get me started, Westie.
It feels great when you get the headshot, but for every other person out there, you're like, oh my god, can we not do this, please? Can we please not do this? Anyway, yeah.
Chad, is this a form of self-torture? I'm playing this game without audio. But I guess we'll just talk on the Battlefield 6 potential Battle Royale first, because I thought you would have a very interesting perspective, like I mentioned before I started the stream. Because, as a lot of you know, Westie, obviously, Battlefield content creator, and then he's been playing Warzone and Call of Duty a lot. And then, of course, there's a big rumor with Battlefield 6 that it's going to have a Battle Royale. So I'd be interested in hearing your perspective after seeing how Firestorm went down, and of course Hazard Zone, which, I mean, we don't even have to talk about Hazard Zone if you don't want to. It's really not even worth discussing.
I might mention it once or twice, but
all right, and that might be too much,
But I mean, I gotta be honest. Firestorm was an attempt. I feel like they just got it all wrong. Not even just the way it was positioned, but also the fact that they saw all these BRs were finally free to play, and they were like, no, we're gonna be the $60.
We're gonna paywall it.
We're gonna paywall it. And I had conversations about, you probably shouldn't do this, and the decision was already
with
made.
them.
Yeah, I was really fortunate to, I was really fortunate to learn about that Firestorm about a year before it launched.
Oh, so
And
you
so,
were telling them this is a bad idea long before it released.
well, it was just one of those conversations where you're like, "Are you sure?" Okay, right, okay. And then I mean, to be honest, like, how long did it last? It was not even a month, I don't think,
Yeah,
before
no,
DICE pulled the plug, right?
I remember vividly the day it came out. I went live, I want to say at 4 in the morning when it released, and I got raided by Music, who I'm sure you may be familiar with.
Yeah.
And I played it for, I think, about 2 hours the day it released, and then I don't know if I ever played it again. So
Yeah,
it didn't last long.
It didn't last long, and I mean, like, it's actually a bit of a shame because, like, I thought, I don't really know how it would have stood up. Because it's impossible to say how it would have stood up had it been free to play. But
Yeah.
like, as an actual BR, it was a very classic BR. It didn't really lean into a lot of what other BRs were doing at that time, especially Fortnite, which was obviously the one that was massively blowing up at that time. And then, of course, we had
PUBG
Apex
partially
Legends.
too, I
PUBG
think.
partially, and then Apex Legends. I think that was like February 2019, I think. So like around the same sort of time that Firestorm ended up dropping. And so, like, because that was free to play and Battlefield, Firestorm wasn't, it was never going to compete. It was never going to. And I mean, they had like a content pipeline for it. It's just that DICE decided once it launched, and I think it was like, wow, for 2 weeks. And then everyone was like, oh, it's $60. Well, I'm not playing it. And then it just died. And like, if a product isn't getting the numbers, then there's no point putting the dev time in. So they pulled the plug.
Exactly.
I think that's a real shame because I actually think the map was kind of nice. The map was pretty cool. There weren't that many great POIs, but there were a couple. And I think that at least it was a classic take on a BR. It didn't do anything particularly out of the box apart from like
the vehicles.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so.
I guess.
Yeah. I mean, like, that most other BRs just use vehicles for transport, right?
Yeah.
Whereas that one was like, no, we're going to turn it into like an offensive, defensive kind of thing.
And I think based off of, like, I think some of the things Temporal has pulled up, they might try to do the same thing in BF6 with some of the vehicles in the BR. So they might really still have that same direction.
It's interesting that because, like, obviously there's a huge power spike with vehicles in a Battlefield game. And normally when you're playing multiplayer, normally you've got multiple infantry players who've got options in order to deal with that vehicle. When you're playing a BR, not everyone's on the same team. It's not 32 versus 32. It's invariably 4v4v4v4v4v4 or 1v1v1v1v1. And so you have all these different groups all fighting together. So, like, is there going to be common ground between people to decide, hey, we should get rid of this tank? Or are people going to be like, haha, you deal with that, and we're going to run over here? And, like, this is the thing. It's hard to know how it's going to work, like, on a bigger scale if that's what they're going to decide to do.
Yeah.
Because Firestorm didn't really give us much of a base for that because it died so quickly. And it basically, when games don't have the player pop, obviously the game doesn't end up being played the way it was intended to be played. It gets played the way that the very small amount of people left play it.
Exactly.
So it'll be interesting to see what they do. I mean, I'm just concerned about a bit of like a power spike, whether people can coordinate properly or whether they've got a proper solution for that in mind. I mean, maybe they do, but depends on how it goes. Like, I doubt they'll do like if it's gonna. Because, again, we don't even know if it comes out at launch, whether they'll do a bit like Warzone, where they had it linked to MW19 and then Warzone came 5 months later. Who knows? Like, I don't really understand what that's going to be. Because the labs testing, I mean, I haven't tried to pay too much attention to it because I kind of don't want to get completely spoiled because it's literally just everywhere anyway.
It's so weird what they're doing with that, by the way. Like, the EA I remember would have fucking crucified channels for what they're doing now, I swear.
I remember the BF3 days, man, where they're literally they didn't have a care in the world. YouTube back then was different anyway. Like, outlets did whatever they wanted, and then they just nuked YouTube channels for fun. But like, I mean, different space now, I guess. I mean, there's part of me that looks at it and thinks if the response to labs had been initially very negative, they would have taken stuff down. The fact that the labs response overly has been a positive it's been positive from what I've seen. Then, I'm sure that people like, maybe we'll just leave it there. Yeah, everyone's doing it. Oh, we've left it too long now. That's the kind of way I look at it. Like if the game was getting negative sentiment, they would have pushed harder to take that stuff down. I think they are still taking stuff down. They're just not very quick.
They're not
doing
very
it.
like. It's not very consistent, you know. It's just kind of like one random thing here, one random thing here. But I wanted to ask you one thing. So about the BF6's Battle Royale, a lot of the Battlefield community still obviously is extremely against even the idea of Battlefield having a Battle Royale. I just absolutely destroyed that guy. But
I saw that.
I have gotten really like major heat for saying, well, in my opinion, guys, they need to adapt the franchise, because if you really think about it, what has Battlefield done to adapt to the modern FPS space in the past decade? Really nothing that's been successful, and EA knows this. So if they execute a well-made free-to-play Battle Royale, I really think there's big potential for the franchise. And I think a lot of the things, I think the main thing the Battlefield community, at least the core community, looks over is the BR really isn't meant for the core community. It is meant for new players, to bring new players into the franchise. That's what EA really wants. And
I would definitely say so.
Yeah. And I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with having, you know, all these different playable, modern, applicable modes to a Battlefield's game. But I think what people are afraid of is sort of the Warzone situation, like with Call of Duty. And this is where I suppose your perspective comes in with that. A lot of people think, well, with COD, Warzone came out, and now they don't care about the multiplayer basically at all. How did I just miss that? But basically, in a lot of people's eyes, Call of Duty has shifted their entire focus to the BR because it's been more successful for them, and they don't want that to happen with Battlefield.
I mean, I get that. I totally get that. Like the thing that I'm trying to do, and maybe it's because I'm a bit older now. Like if you zoom out, like you got to think about this is not just a game. Like the company that makes it are here to make
money. Exactly.
They're here to make money. So
that's what companies do.
And like Battlefield has always been the like number 2 casual FPS game on the market. It's never really been number 1. Even BF1, which had insane success at launch,
barely got there.
Exactly. By the end of its life cycle, the game that everyone memed on the internet, Infinite Warfare from the opposing franchise, ended up outselling Battlefield 1. So
Truth nuke.
So like when you think about it, it still didn't penetrate beyond, like Call of Duty gets the success it gets because it's penetrated the mainstream audience. It's penetrated the casual audience to such an extent that when little Timmy gets his new console, what are the names of games that people get?
When I was a kid, it was Halo and COD, dude.
Halo and COD, and now it's going to be COD and Fortnite, or like if you're in Europe, it might be like FIFA, for example. Like it's like one of those mainstream names, and Battlefield, unfortunately, has never been able to get into that group. So when EA looks at it, like it's still one of their biggest IPs. So if they're going to make a bet on something, it's probably going to be this.
Yeah.
Like it's probably got to be this. I would look at some of other EA's other franchises, like Apex Legends is like a sub-franchise of Titanfall, but the previous Titanfall game didn't do very well, so they kind of don't really have the power there anymore. Battlefield has always had like the brand power, but it's never quite gotten to that top step. So EA's looking for a way to push it there.
And
of
I
course,
don't think
that's probably going to be the BR, right?
Yeah. If it's anything, it'll be the BR. Because, in my opinion, the multiplayer, even if BF6 is absolutely incredible and it has major success, which we would all love to see, Battlefield as a concept, like as a big combined arms shooter, is a more niche concept than Call of Duty. And it will, as a result, never be as popular, in my opinion. So, that's something I think people really gloss over. They think, oh, well, if we just had a good Battlefield game, it would immediately be as popular as Call of Duty. No, I mean, the concept is a lot more niche. It appeals to a particular type of person that there are simply less of in the world, in my opinion. It's just never going to be...
It's never going to be that way. And this probably leads into something that I think we wanted to talk about, was like the classes system. And I think it's something that me and you are like, we're aligned on in probably like 70% of it.
Of course, yeah.
And so like, one of those things you've just mentioned, like there are less people that want to play a Battlefield game versus people that want to play Call of Duty. Let's look at what they're doing with classes. I think we can kind of see the direction that they're going for here. I think having thought about this for a lot longer and having the opinions that I've had, I made video, you made the video, we've got our opinions on it. I just think in general, by doing what they're doing with classes, is they're just removing a barrier to entry to make it easier for people to enjoy the game. That's where I genuinely think if you boil it all down to it, that's what they're trying to do. When people step into it, they step into a Battlefield game, you have to take on a role. And then you realize, oh, I can't use the gun that I want. So I'm just going to play the role with the gun. And then
exactly,
we have the problem we have. Call of Duty doesn't have that problem because they don't have that barrier. So I think what they've tried to do with classes is tried to like open the door to make it more appealing to a wider audience, but also do their absolute best to make it so that it's still classes, guys. It is still classes. So that I kind of think they're trying to strike this balance. And I don't know if it's going to make people happy, or I don't know if it's just going to annoy everybody. So we'll have to see.
So I think argument I've seen is the core Battlefield community is sort of the vocal minority on the class system, but the larger audience may not care at all. So
I'd 100% agree with you.
And I think part of the open weapon system thing is exactly as you said. Each class performs a role, but I think they probably have data somewhere in there that says, well, the role is pretty much 85 or 90% completed with the gadgets available to the class. Like, the gadgets, in my opinion, defines the role of classes more than the weapons really ever have. And I just think having open weapons doesn't necessarily destroy like everything about Battlefield that people say. And people use 2042 as an example of why like open weapons can't work. And me personally, like I've said, I made a billion videos on this. I don't personally care what they do because I've played so many different types of Battlefield games. I've just dealt with it. It's all fine. I see the argument for class locking weapons and I see the argument for open weapons. But I think people are being overly dismissive about an open weapon system. They like to bring up, oh, it'll destroy team play, and they talk about 2042 with specialists, and like, oh, this doesn't work because 2042 proves it doesn't work. But then you look at 2042, and it's like, okay, the specialists in particular heavily dictate what you actually play. And I mean, look at my playtime in this game. I've played McKay for literally 2,300 hours. Why? Because he's overpowered. Straight up. Yep. He's overpowered, and he just doesn't have any weaknesses ever. And that is not going to be in BF6. These specialists are not going to be in the game. So that right there just changes the whole dynamic of the open weapon system. Because ultimately, when you're choosing what you want to play, the gadgets matter more than the specialist abilities now. Because there are no specialist abilities to even consider. There's no Zane or Sundance or McKay. So
it's also like I feel like the specialist was like a branching, like or a segregating of the class system because you had to pick a role within a role. Like there were assault specialists, there were medic specialists. You know what I mean? And like each of them had their own, you know, maybe game changing isn't the right word, but they had their own like in some cases, absolutely. But like they had their own unique like ability or gadget that would define what they do. But I think a lot of people just didn't like that at all because there is this thing, and I'm kind of still, and maybe it's a bit of a nostalgic thing for me, but like Battlefield is just like nameless soldier simulator, and not like the whole point was that you were part of a wider team. There was no one particular person who was supposed to stand out and be like, oh yeah, like I want to play as that character because it does this. It's like, no, you play as medic because you heal people, or you pick support because you like dropping ammo.
And I totally agree with that. The specialist direction was always dumb in my opinion. No one, like even dude, I don't care about McKay and him saying, what does he say at the start screen? Something about like, the wait's over, or like all these voice lines, and
no one cares about that.
They're trying to create lore, and I read the lore, and I don't understand. It's okay. Can we stop this?
I agree, and like the thing is for me, like I still find like BF3, the medic, like the guy that played the medic, and like I can see that character standing on the character screen. I can see that medic, and I couldn't tell you what the default look for McKay is, or In fact, you know what? I don't even know any about Sundance. That's the only other specialist I can actually think of the name right now.
Well,
So,
probably
like,
because she has the wingsuit, and that's like
she has the wings.
one of the
Yeah,
main
but,
things
like,
that was pushed in the game, like from the start.
So like, but I can see the BF3 medic clear as day. I can see the BF4 medic with its backpack and the pair of scissors that are strapped
And the
to its
goggles.
backpack. And the goggles. And I can see the Chinese recon character from BF4 because I know exactly what it looks like. These are the memorable things that we like. And it's like, that's Nameless Soldier. Even though, you know, it's easy to spot what that is, it's still Nameless Soldier. And I just think that Specialist was the wrong direction. I understand, like, there is a certain extent, I understand what they were trying to do, but, you know, arguably if you want to make a hero shooter, you should just make a different game and not shoehorn it into a game that it clearly was not designed to work with.
Yeah. So I want to talk about class identifiability here for a bit, because people always bring up that fact when they talk about the open weapon versus locked weapon system. And I think they really gloss over how easy class identifiability is, like solvable via visual identifying factors, right? So if you pay attention to like me playing the game right now, imagine if they just had the class symbol over their head as their spot symbol, right? And imagine if specialists weren't in the game, and the classes are, again, very easily identifiable just by a glance, on top of other identifying factors. You don't necessarily need locked weapons to be like, that's a medic, right? No. And BF4 proves that. Because BF4 obviously had a ton of universal weapon categories, and a recon player could have anything from an ACWR to a sniper rifle, and there's really no way to tell. So
I think like from my point of view, I've been playing a fair bit of BF1. BF1 spot icon tells you the class, and that's super helpful. I mean, BF1 is probably not, in terms of like actual 3D physical identity, like when you look at the character, is probably not a great example for supporting open weapons, because they did such they had a really good job of the silhouettes in that game.
Yes.
Like, you knew a support player was a support because he was holding the LMG at his waist, like, and the stance of the character was so
the animations.
It was so uniquely identifiable. And so maybe there is an element that this next game needs to lean into that, because if they can create that with a universal open weapon system and have, I don't know, rather than the weapon itself being tied into that silhouette, but like the silhouette of each class is uniquely identifiable by the way it's standing, over time people are going to learn that very quickly.
Of course.
And that's one of those things that I think they can do. But I agree, like, the more I've thought about it, the open weapon system it's less concerning to me. And I think the reason I was concerned initially is purely because Battlefield has always done it. And so there's like a part of me that's like, well, why would you change that? Why would you go and do this? And then, like I said to you earlier, I think there's a lot more reasons other than just wanting to make sure that people can play the way they want to. I think there's monetization reasons as well.
Of course, the skins.
Yeah, but
people always bring that up.
We mentioned earlier about, EA wanting to get this game, have a wider appeal. Well, what's the easiest way to do that? Let's make sure that, someone has a favorite weapon that they like and they don't want to play a class without that weapon. Okay, let's give them that weapon on that class, and let's hope they carry on playing the role. And maybe we're I'm very dismissive of, like, they're not going to play the role, they're not going to do it. We're going to get support players with ammo bags sitting behind a rock at the back of the map, and they're never going to leave.
Which has always been a thing.
But maybe some people will do that. But I think there are probably a lot of people that won't do that. You're always going to get that guy that sits in the spawn with the artillery truck, because that's what they do.
That's what they do.
And you're not going to be able to stop them from doing that. But maybe by having open weapons, it actually might make things even more adaptable. It might make people actually be like, okay, so they've opened up weapons. Let me try being a medic with a sniper rifle.
Yeah, and this is something that I touched on. Well. Oh, I want to touch on this so badly. Every single time I see someone talk about the open weapon system, they always bring up the fact a medic can use a sniper rifle, and how this is some sort of insanely overpowered god setup that has absolutely no counter. And in reality, I have played against medic snipers in this game for literally 2,000 hours, and I have not once ever complained about it. And the argument is, I suppose, I body shot them and they heal themselves, and then they repeak, and I don't know that they could heal themselves. Well, actually, you can look at their specialists and tell they're a medic, so you can actually predict that. And then on top of that, the ultimate counter to this is, I'm sorry, to shoot them in the head with a sniper rifle, which is also the counter to every sniper in the game anyway. So
Yeah, it is.
I've never understood the massive hate for that, aside from, I don't know, just hating on it just to do it.
I think, again, I'm just going to keep defaulting back to the fact that Battlefield hasn't done this before, so people immediately react that they don't like it.
Yep.
And what's really interesting to me is that we were talking about labs earlier. I've tried not to look at too much stuff, but it is just literally all over.
It's impossible.
So it's hard to ignore it. Like, the feedback from labs has been largely positive, and I haven't seen a huge amount of the feedback be, oh, I wish they locked weapons to classes. The feedback hasn't really been, from what I've seen, like.
And we don't know what the specific labs feedback is. Maybe the people in labs are saying this is actually working fine. Like, I don't understand why people on the outside are begging for it to change. So they might just be actually listening to labs feedback, but from the outside, it appears like they're not listening to the community. You know?
Maybe, because like the only feedback we're seeing is like replies to social posts and replies to Reddit posts and stuff. And like,
from the community managers too.
Yeah, and like even then, I'm not like. When I see people just discussing it, like, you know, there's always like someone takes a clip from like the latest test and some big like Twitter account posts it, and there's loads of people underneath going, oh, this, that, and oh, it looks amazing. There's not many people saying, wait, why is that medic running around with a sniper rifle?
Yeah,
they don't say that. They don't say it. And so maybe this all like, as Battlefield fans, we're a little bit like, oh, well, hang on, why are you doing this? You've never done this before. But like the general person, the person that EA is clearly trying to get at with this game. I mean, the 100 million thing that came out is just the most ultimate example of that. Like they clearly want to hit a casual audience, you know?
So I wanted to touch on, we'll touch on the 100 million players after this small thing I wanted to touch on. So the whole thing about the Battlefield community not wanting it because basically Battlefield, you know, traditionally in a lot of people's minds doesn't have open weapons.
I'm going to say initially, I'm just going to point out, like, I'm still like 30% one of those people. I like my classes, the very structured classes that we have, but you know, I'm still going to play this game anyway. So like, it doesn't really matter what they do for me personally, because I'm going to play the game anyway.
I'm in the exact same boat as you.
There's a lot of people in the community that absolutely rightfully, you know, they're seeing this and they're thinking, what, they're going to take our classes away. I don't like this. So I get both sides. I totally get both sides.
I was afraid of the community reaction because in my opinion, I made a couple videos with this. I was afraid of the community reaction being so against the open weapon system because in my opinion, I would just like to see them avoid all drama, and maybe that's just me being like paranoid. I'm like, oh god, oh fuck, oh no, please,
not another situation.
Like, no, please, not another 2042. Like, just lock the weapons so they stop complaining, please. But maybe again, maybe the labs feedback is positive for the open weapons, and they're listening to them.
This is the thing. Like, I mean, one thing I'm just gonna look at the blog post. I've actually got it up here because like I just wanted to make sure if we were gonna quote anything, we were gonna get it right.
Yes.
So the one thing again, if you zoom out, you don't make 2 blog posts about the class structure, like being like, this is what we're gonna do.
I said the same thing.
I'm like, you're not going to make those 2 blog posts with those lovely graphics in there. Like,
those lovely,
if you're kind of open to changing your mind, I don't think they're going to change their mind. I think they're on this road.
Listen, you don't tell these artists to make these wonderful pictures for us.
Absolutely not. Absolutely. You know, you don't. Because, like, I mean, if that's what they want to do, if that's a decision they've made, they may as well stick to it. I think what's kind of frustrating is, like, again, people giving feedback and it feels like people are not being listened to, but again, we don't have access to the lab's feedback. We're just looking at community response on Twitter and on Reddit. So we're not getting access to that. But for me, you don't make these like graphics without knowing that that's the direction you're going to go down. And they sort of just doubled down on it in that second blog post. They were like, "We hear you," because I think they said it at the top, right? They were literally said. They said, we've collected extensive feedback and data to improve the next Battlefield.
Data's the big one.
We've seen the suggestions to revert to previous systems and or closed weapons. We are keeping these in mind as we aim to connect new and veteran players to the Battlefield experience. So, like, they're going to keep going on this path, whether we like it or not. I think we're just going to have to get comfortable with it.
And that's why I shifted my discussion in a recent video I put out to giving feedback on the specific balance of the individual aspects of this system, because I don't think they're going to change it. So I think we should now be focused on, as a community, making sure it's quote-unquote balanced, like focus on the signature weapons and traits and all the aspects of that, and just make sure it makes sense. But the 100 million player thing.
Oh, yeah, let's do that. Let's do that.
The 100 million players. So, a couple of years ago, I vividly remember, I believe it was an EA earnings call, and there was sort of like revenue data and a pie chart. And off the top of my head, Battlefield represented either 2 to 4% of EA's revenue.
Right.
So they're pissed about that for sure. And this time around, they're like, listen, we want 100 fucking million players. Okay,
we're gonna go for it. We're gonna go for it.
Yeah, we want this game to actually succeed on a global scale, and we're gonna do everything in our big corporate EA power to make this happen. We're putting a BR in the game. We're having basically a CTE before the game is even revealed.
Yeah,
you know, all this stuff.
I think, yeah, I mean, like, I look at it as like, again, just zoom right out on this, okay? Company wants to make money. How do we make money? Don't produce niche product. Make mass appeal product. Like, that's where they're going with this. And, like, it's a bit scary as a Battlefield fan, I gotta be honest. Like,
yeah, it is.
What are you gonna do? And I mean, like, the class system is a great example of the kind of debates that it can create. But the 100 million player thing, you know, that's a really lofty goal, like very, very lofty. And I made a video. I'm like, okay, so what happens if they get 65 million? 65 million is still a massive amount of players, but is that considered a failure? Like, 65 million would still be insane. So I'm a little bit like, is this 100 million thing? Is this like hard and fast? Is this something that is being focused on really heavily? Or is it like, was it made in passing? Because of course it was just in a report. It's not like EA said it directly themselves. They didn't come out with some big statement. It was from a report from Ars Technica, I think, and it was somebody it had come up in internally. But still, that report doesn't tell you with it, like, it doesn't be like, yes, it's always been said this way or whatever. So we don't really know. But like, it's another thing that points towards they're going for mass appeal. And like you mentioned, if there's a pie chart that says Battlefield only makes 2% of our revenue, we want to make more out of it, because Battlefield has huge brand power. By the way, it's a massive brand, huge potential, huge potential. But I mean, I think we can all stand here, having played the last few games. It's never quite reached that potential. So EA are going, right, let's go balls to the wall and try and actually push it as far as we can.
I mean, I can't even say it. I can't even really say it any better myself, you know?
Yeah. And this is the thing. One about the 100 million players thing. That sounds to me like that's not come from like a developer that's working on a small part of the game. That sounds
Suits.
Like that. That sounds like
that's
somebody
top.
Who's manager, executive level, who's got, you know, they've got to think about, hey, we've got revenue targets to hit. We've got shareholders to keep happy, essentially. So we want to make sure we push this as far as possible. So I get that.
One thing I wanted to cover, a lot of people listening to this may be going, oh my God, well, you know, don't sacrifice Battlefield for the sake of like hitting a revenue target. I don't think they necessarily have to make Battlefield something like it isn't on a much larger scale than just like changing the class system in order to make Battlefield successful. I think Battlefield is definitely mass appealing if they just lock in and make the quality where it should be. Because, I mean, we can touch on this, the first impressions of the next Battlefield game. The first impressions of games nowadays, more important than ever. Marathon recently proved that extremely well with, you know, I'm not sure if you paid attention to Marathon very much, but you know, the mouse and keyboard, basically aimbot being enabled by default, and just the whole stolen art thing with that game, you know. So the first impression of that game was legitimately about as bad as you could possibly have. And 2042 is a close second in my mind. So anything,
anything that can detract from a good first impression, these days can be extremely damaging. Extremely damaging.
So damaging. And particularly in the case of Battlefield, where in a lot of people's eyes, they are on their last chance. Whether or not that is actually true is, up for debate. But a lot of people, BF5 was, majorly strike one, and then 2042 certainly strike two, if not three at the same time for a lot of people. So the player base is really fed up, and they want their Battlefield at least back to, a playable state in a lot of people's minds. They want that experience that they had with Battlefield 3 and 4 and Battlefield 1, and they're kind of just tired with all these games coming out and disappointing people and reinventing the wheel and the quality not being there, which is a huge thing. 2042 came out, the quality was, I don't even, it was fucking, I almost don't even have any words.
It was bad.
Yeah, really,
bad. It wasn't great. I mean, I remember I didn't get to actually play the 2042 alpha.
God bless your soul for that. I did. So
God. I did see a lot of people that did play it, and they had problems on PC, but like actually getting that game to run. And then even in the beta that they did, that didn't run great on my system. And like I usually try and benchmark myself because most content creators will have a beefy system because of the work they do. But like, if it doesn't run well on the content creator system, what hope does the person who's running, their mid-range PC that they bought 4 years ago that they want to play the latest games? How's it going to run on that?
Yeah,
and so
at the time I had
At
the time I had a top of the line rig. I 3090 and top of the line CPU, and I was not getting good performance.
Nope.
So that was bad.
Agreed.
But one thing that is huge for people, and chat, I would love to see you chime in on this, and maybe we'll come to a couple of your comments. Post-launch content.
Okay.
Post-launch content with 2042 was, in my opinion, kind of expectedly extremely lackluster. But of course, this is coming off the back of BF5, which of course is the only Battlefield game ever that was canceled mid-development. So a lot of people see it as completely unacceptable, and they blame, live service for this, which is, I think that's valid in some cases. But what do you think the bare minimum amount of content should be for BF6 post-launch? I'm talking number of maps, number of weapons. How often do we get perhaps a new Battle Royale map? And then, of course, we have to consider the Battle Pass and everything with that.
Okay. So, like, for me, I mean, I yearn for the days of getting 4 maps per update, but we're not getting that anymore.
Do you remember the BF1 6-map DLC?
Yeah, the Russian one.
Holy shit.
I mean, I actually forgot that the first one, the French one, they did 4 maps.
Yep.
And then it was such a gap to the Russian one. They were like, oh, here's 2 more French maps. So they did 6 for the French thing, and they did 6 for the Russian. I mean, we were spoiled.
Bro.
But even then, it took too long.
I'll take it.
Yeah, I mean, like...
At this moment in time, Westie, I have to say, I will wait.
The thing is like, it's very difficult, like, with all of this, like, to say, like, oh, I loved it when BF3 Premium dropped 4 maps every 3 months. It was a different game.
It was totally different.
We were selling season passes back then. Season pass is probably not going to fly this day and age. I mean, in most games, if they come out paid these days, is a controversy. So
yeah,
so if I'm going to be totally honest, if I'm looking for like a satisfactory seasonal update for a Battlefield game, I'm used to COD, right? I'm used to a COD season that lasts like 2 months, usually in multiplayer, like multiplayer 6v6. So they usually drop 3 maps, 2 at the beginning, 1 in the middle. For Battlefield, you're probably looking at 2 maps for that. I think 2042's seasonal updates being 3 months long, I understand why it's 3 months, because development time, and I get it. But like from a player perspective, 3 months is a fairly decent chunk of time, and I actually think they benefit from moving to a 2-month cadence.
With how much content per 2-month cadence?
I would love it if they did 2 maps per 2 months.
Oof.
I just don't see that. I don't see it happening based on previous experience.
We're talking about modern gaming, Wes. This is brutal expectations. I agree with you though.
I would love it if we had if the next Battlefield game was like, right, we're going to do seasons every 2 months. We're going to drop 2 maps per season so that you guys get, maybe it's 1 at launch and 1 a month later or something like. Or they drop both at the beginning, and they do like a playlist that has those maps in rotation or whatever. I would love that. And then it comes along with, you know, 3 to 4 weapons per season, maybe have 3 at the start and 1 in the middle to freshen things up, or maybe they do like 3 primaries, 2 secondaries or something, something like that. Trying to think about what they used to do for premium. God, what else did they used to do?
In BF4, someone brought this up. BF4 obviously had a ton of weapons, and you were mentioning, you know, like 2 to 3 weapons per season. I think 2042, based off of leaks, is not 2042. BF6, based off of leaks or just predictions, it's gonna have a ton of weapons at launch. Hopefully, somewhere in the range of like 45 to I saw like 52-ish. So at a certain point, when you release more weapons, you actually have to copy damage models of other weapons. So this is where BF4 comes up. BF4 was kind of famous for this with clone weapons. You know, how much does that actually matter? I think, in my mind, it doesn't actually matter that much because people like to just use a cool-looking gun. And if one gun looks cooler than another, it doesn't really matter that if it has the same damage model as another weapon.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I think it's one of those things again. If you look at as a dedicated Battlefield player, maybe that matters to you. To a wider audience, to somebody who just plays on a Friday and a Saturday for a couple of hours, do they care that it has exactly the same damage model as another gun?
They don't even know that.
They don't even notice. They don't care.
They literally don't even know what a damage model is, bro. Like
exactly. And this is not even me being horrible. It's just generally like, why should they have to care about those things? They shouldn't have to. They should just be like, oh, cool new content. I'll go play with it. Like that's how it should be, right? That's how it should be.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I would love to see them personally. I think 2 months is. I totally agree with you. I think that'd be great. Don't think it's going to happen, unfortunately.
I don't think it's going to happen.
I think they're going to lean more towards the 3 to 4 month sort of thing. I think 3 months, 2 maps, a battle pass, and probably 2 to 4 weapons is where we're going to land. Anything below, I will say though, anything below 2 maps per 3 to 4 months for me is unacceptable. I do not want the 1 map per 4 months like we're getting in Delta Force, okay? We're not even going to talk about that fucking game. But but it's clearly too little. It doesn't tide people over, and it just doesn't satisfy really anybody, in my opinion. So
yeah, I think also there was like with 2042, they basically remade all 7 base maps, didn't they?
Yes,
because
they did.
Were far too big. They were far too big. Well, I mean, you're playing one right now, which they remodeled.
This is one of the worst maps I've ever played in my entire life. We're not going to talk about Stadium.
Yeah. But that's something to be said. Like, I don't know how you feel about this, but like certainly I feel that the quality of Battlefield maps over the last decade has
plummeted.
It's plummeted. Like, go back to BF3 and give me Sen Crossing, give me Grand Bazaar, give me Talamarket from
BF3.
Aftermath.
Holy shit!
Yeah, give me
Cinema.
What was it? What were the maps that Pearl Market and BF4? Pearl Market was great. That was really good for like infantry and light vehicles. I loved that. Final Stand with the stupid like lift thing that would fire on the map, and you could like fire yourself in a rocket pod like across the map.
Hangar 21.
That's the one. Yeah, that's the one. Amazing maps. Absolutely incredible. Inspired. 2042, barren open field.
Yeah, and we can. This is a great segue. I am so glad 128 players is hopefully never going to see the light of day again in Battlefield. Because
again, they definitely don't. They haven't listened.
Yeah, in my opinion, it's very obvious that 2042's map design plummeted off a cliff, largely because of 128 players. You know, they're doing it for the very first time, and it was just simply not. It was too new of an environment, right? They didn't really know how to size these maps and how the pacing was going to be, and they ultimately were just way too big. And of course, there's another facet of that where they have to consider, you know, infantry players, but they also have to consider vehicles. So that also makes the maps larger.
Yeah.
So 128 players for infantry, that default makes the map larger, and then with vehicles, you have to consider, you know, that also affected it.
Bigger. You can make it even bigger.
Makes it even bigger. And then one thing that I have noticed, and I would love to hear your opinion on this. Battlefield maps, particularly with 2042, the amount of verticality has really increased, and it's not the good type of verticality where there's a limited amount of it and it's predictable. You know that, okay, this building has a second floor with 4 windows. In this game, it's like, oh, there's a character in the game called McKay that pretty much breaks all gameplay with positioning. He can access basically, well, everywhere. Like, for instance, I'll do it right now. I can just go up on this rafter and just sit there, for instance. But you can also do that without McKay. You can access a ton of verticality for free, and it's not well designed. So I think one of the things they need to really focus on in the next Battlefield game is making sure areas with verticality are well implemented and readable. Exactly. Yes. You touched on Sane Crossing. Sane Crossing has very readable verticality with the buildings and the way they're designed.
Verticality as well. It's like actually helpful.
Yes, it is.
It's not just there for no reason.
This is good. This is a good conversation.
So yeah, I mean, like, if I'll round off that part about maps. I'm gonna again, I think that the way the maps changed was very heavy from BF4 to BF1 was the biggest change because they implemented in BF1 they implemented the pull-up over larger objects.
Oh, this is such a huge thing people don't talk about.
Yeah, people don't talk about this enough. If you can pull up over a wall that's 7 foot tall, that's taller than the character model in the game,
you change the map flow.
You completely change the map flow. Like, people can do stuff they could never do in previous games. The reason BF3's combined arms combat was so good is because there was an inherent predictability about it, but also you could just read what was happening.
Westie, I would dap you up in real life for this opinion.
I've been saying this for years. People never listen to me.
People never understand this point from a gameplay perspective. When they introduced the ability to vault, like, character model height walls, basically, we'll call them.
Yep.
This opens up. Look at it. He just did it right in front of me, like in the gameplay. You guys are watching. That was not possible in previous Battlefield games. He would have had to peek me from either corner of that wall you were just seeing. Whereas, now I can take this, I can just go whoop and just vault right up there. And around the map, there are a ton of these player model height walls, okay? And the ability to vault them really affects map flow a ton. You were not able to do this in BF4. If there was a wall like that, sorry, you have to route around it. You have to find a way to deal with it. You have to take that fight in the corner. You have to completely rotate around the map to a completely separate part of the map to maybe avoid that area that was perhaps too crowded because there weren't any routes available. So, yeah, you're 100% right with that. And it should be a big debate whether or not that is even possible in gameplay.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, for me, like, you look at BF1, and don't get me wrong, I really liked BF1, but it was the start of a gradual decline in what I perceive to be, what I personally perceive to be the quality of maps, because I care less about how a map looks. I care more about how a map plays. I love the combined arms maps of BF3. I love Sen Crossing. I love Grand Bazaar. They are literally they're literally the maps that I played the most time, because I just like the fact that I knew what fights I was going into. I'd be like, oh, the enemy has this point. I'm gonna have to do something else. I can't just pop over this fence and surprise everybody and kill them all and then ruin their game for them. Like, I don't feel that it's actually a good gameplay feature to have that in the game. I want an element of readability, and I don't mind losing to somebody who's better than me at reading it as well. Whereas I feel like in 2042, in BF5, BF1, the map design enabled people to just do these most outlandish things, and at the expense of general good gameplay. For those spike moments where something amazing could happen, they sacrifice the general overall quality.
Yep. Another thing I wanted to touch on with BF1, and this isn't just about BF1. This ties into, I suppose, perhaps their general approach with a lot of different aspects of Battlefield games moving forward. there is a key moment in BF1. Let me back up. So BF1, in my view, is the Battlefield game that brought in a shit ton of new players.
I think it did.
Would you agree with that?
I would say so, yeah.
It being a World War I game, it brought in a lot of people that, you know, perhaps are on like the extreme casual side of things, which is fine. But the setting was also interesting in that regard, where people talk about some aspects of the gameplay, such as movement, right, not fitting sort of the gameplay setting. And ultimately what happened with BF1 is, whether it be because of, you know, setting or whatever, they kind of just gutted the movement of the game, but it also brought in a lot of these casual players where BF1 was their first Battlefield game, so they kind of expect moving forward Battlefield to play somewhat similarly to that. And in my opinion, that BF1 second slide nerf was almost... It was bigger. Its implications were bigger than just the implications for BF1. Because them essentially removing the slide from BF1 was DICE saying, we designed this game with this movement in mind, but we are willing to essentially remove this movement without implementing any sort of replacement for this movement option, which we just removed. Which, in my mind, explained to me they don't actually understand, or perhaps they don't care, why that was important to the gameplay of the game. And ever since they did that in BF1, the gameplay of BF1 has absolutely suffered, in my opinion. Because...
I mean, if you try and use the slide now, it's virtually useless.
It is,
anyway. Like,
it is essentially suicide using the slide.
you may as well have taken it out.
Yeah, they might as well, and they did. They basically did take it out. And this element, I think, has sort of bled into every single Battlefield title since then. Maybe you could correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't necessarily remember people complaining much about BF4 air strafing and all that jumping around.
Not really, no.
Not really. So, ever since BF1, I think people have really got this weird sort of, I don't even want to, like, hatred or strong dislike for game mechanics that are really important to gameplay in Battlefield. And not playing Stadium again, but I wanted to touch on the BF6 movement and how you think they should approach it, because in my mind, I would just like to see them build off of BF5's system and just call it a day. I don't necessarily think the slide in that game was too crazy. There was a turn rate cap, and, you know, it sort of held you in place to a certain extent. Jumping with weapons, it's most notably because BF5 was the very first game where you could jump and shoot at the same time. There's a big debate as to whether or not that should actually be possible. And there's also a big debate as to whether or not, you know, jump peeking should even be in the game, which is fucking ludicrous in my opinion. But I really think BF6 movement needs to hit a sweet spot with the player base, but I don't want the player base to sort of destroy what they're doing with the game. And I think DICE might be open to this because they've done it in BF1. So basically just afraid they'll destroy the game's movement.
I think the one thing for me is, like, having played COD for the last 5 years, I've dealt with so many different variations of movement in that game. And the current one with Black Ops 6 is probably the most infuriating, because there's a couple of things that
I think it feels like shit.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really like it, to be honest. I would prefer if it wasn't the way it is. I mean, I wasn't the biggest fan of MW19's like crouch slide canceling kind of thing, but I actually saw the benefit of it, especially in Warzone, because of the way the map was designed. So it kind of made sense. And I've got to give them credit. Like, the COD devs never really took it out. They sort of identified it as an advanced movement system that not everybody could use, but in the right situation, if you played the game enough and learned how to do it, it could benefit you. It didn't break the game. It just benefited people who knew how to use it, and you could counter it. Like, if you saw somebody doing it and you shot them accurately, they'd still die. So
of course,
it's one of those things where they understood what it was. It was unintended, but they were like, oh, okay, well, you know, it's not ruining the game, so we're going to leave it as it is. The current version, like with the sliding and the jumping and like the backwards prone diving, as a keyboard and mouse player, they don't put a separate keybind for prone and for dive.
Oh my god, I know. Dude.
So only people on controller have the option of different inputs in order to activate slide or prone.
And they get aimbot. Disgusting. Disgusting, Westie.
Disgusting.
Disgusting.
So the amount of times I'm in full sprint and I see somebody and I'm on a roof and I see someone and I'm like, crap, I need to go prone because they're going to shoot at me. I'm in full sprint, I hit prone, and it puts me into prone dive, and it prone dives me off the roof into the incoming
and then you're aimbotted.
of the and then they kill me. So like I'm somewhere in the middle when it comes to movement. I don't mind having like movement in the game as long as, once again, like we've said it with map design, as long as it's readable. If it's readable and someone can counter it, like firing your gun and hitting your shots, then I don't see it being a major problem.
And I don't think Battlefield's movement has ever reached even anywhere near the COD movement that you were describing just now.
No, it's
in
never
any
got
title
near close. No, never. It's never got that close.
Even in 2042, you watch me play the game right now. All I'm doing is sliding and jumping twice. It's not like I'm sliding and prone diving and all this stuff.
Oh god, no. It's crazy. Like what the things that can be done in COD are for me infuriating. I hate it, but I have to put up with it because it's the only game I can stomach playing right now.
Yep.
But like I kind of agree with you. I think BF5 had a good movement system. The one thing that I remember I didn't like at the time was like laying prone on your back.
Oh, thank God.
I think that was more to do with visibility though, because when it first came out, I'm pretty sure the visibility of players was awful in BF5. It
was terrible.
And people would lay prone on their back in a muddy field with a brown outfit on, and you couldn't see them. And I think that was actually more of a problem because people then learned that was the case, and then they did it more because they knew they could benefit from it.
Yeah. And then the Battlefield subreddit, I remember this vividly. We're coping, and they were saying, well, this is actually fine because I'm utilizing camouflage. It's like, okay, well, this is kind of ridiculous, guys.
Yeah, it was a bit stupid because like it was one of those things that was destroying, and especially the maps where I think it was, what was the one with the cathedral in the middle of it? It was Devastation. It was really, oh my god, the gameplay was devastating.
Gray map.
On that map. Yeah, it was just like I cannot see anyone. And it took them so long to fix it, but the gameplay had already been ingrained into people at that point.
I've always said with BF5, people ask me sometimes when I was streaming that game, because unfortunately I streamed that game every single day from the alpha to when 2042 came out. People always ask me, Enders, how do you see these people? And I always told them, BF5 is one of the only Battlefield games where you have to learn how to see.
Yeah, you did.
You have to learn how to make sense of what you're looking at on your screen, because it really took a lot of time to go, okay, I understand this is the shape of a player model against this certain surface, right? Black spot equals enemy. Exactly, JUnit. So we want to avoid that as much as possible. And one setting they added in BF5 that really helped was player lighting. I think that should be pretty much mandatory, just for visibility's sake.
They called it ring lighting, I think. Basically, they just put a little glow around the edge of players in order to make them stand out from the background. And, it ultimately fixed the problem, which was great. But like in terms of general movement in BF5, like did they also have the crouch run in BF5?
They had crouch run, and they had the roll, which negated fall damage from a certain height if you timed it correctly.
Oh yeah, I remember that. You could fall out of the windows of like buildings and then do like a combat roll.
And you could ledge grab.
Yes, you could. You could ledge grab.
Yep.
You could ledge grab from like if you were falling. You could like fall off the edge of a building and then grab the ledge, the window below it, and pull yourself in like the level below. I think that was pretty cool.
And on top of all that, there was leaning.
Oh yeah, the lean. Was that contextual lean, or was it? It wasn't.
It was manual lean
based. Was it? Oh my god, I've forgotten so much.
It was manual lean. Yep.
I've forgotten so much, man.
BF5. I played BF5 super sweaty, obviously, and by the end of it, BF5 had a very satisfying combination of things where it was actually extremely high actions per minute at like the highest level of play, and it was very difficult to utilize all of the movement mechanics at once. People would do this thing called, and this is where I'm going to try to segue into why I think skill gap is important in movement. Not too much, but there needs to be enough. BF5 hit that balance, in my opinion, where it wasn't too much, but the game had depth. I think why BF4 was so fun for people and why people love that game so much is it had the same thing. BF4's movement was easy to pick up, but it was actually quite difficult to master because of all the little micro things you could do.
Yeah,
BF5 as well.
You had to be bang on with timing in BF4
exactly
to get that movement.
And I see these arguments saying, I love BF1. We don't need any of that shit. It's like, okay, well, if we really want to look at it from an objective perspective, BF1 plays right now, the way that game plays is it's essentially a 50-50 if you're on the right team or not, right? So you have to get on the team that's rolling, and then it becomes a positional game, right? Whereas if you have more gameplay depth, it allows individual players to turn the tide more, right? Like, there are many instances in every single Battlefield game except BF1 where I join the server, and because I am, essentially playing the game correctly, I'm utilizing everything with me, I can really help turn the tide of the server. I might not win the game, but I can make a lot more of a difference individually, and I don't think that is necessarily a bad thing when it comes to gameplay.
No, not at all. And it allows people to learn those things. And if you learn them and then use them, that creates a sense like, oh, I can do this again. I can do this again. That's literally part of playing games these days. Like, if you come in and only ever play it at a base level, like, it becomes boring quite quickly. You need mechanics in the game to be like, right, okay, I've got the general, like, the basics here. And then maybe you do something for the first time and you're like, oh, I never actually realized I could chain those two things together and that's the outcome.
Mm-hmm.
And then suddenly, like you say, maybe it gets you into a position where you're like, oh, we actually took an objective because I did that. Or we were able to get round, like, on a meat grinder map, we were able to push forward 3 meters because of something that I did. Yeah. Oh, look, you're playing a meat grinder map right now.
Yes, I am. Yeah.
But like, I totally agree with you. It should be easy to pick up, harder to master. It shouldn't be really difficult to master. It should just be harder to master. Because again, we're not talking about like a niche product here. We're talking about Battlefield, the casual FPS game that has a wide appeal. And if we boil it all down again, EA want a game that more people can pick up and play, have a good time with, but they need a game that also keeps people coming back. So if you have that additional level that allows people to go beyond the basics of the game and do something that's a little bit more advanced that other people can't do, then that's going to keep people coming back. And I think, like you say, in BF4, that's why that game kept people playing for so long. Like,
absolutely.
BF4, a lot of people think BF4 had a terrible launch, and it did have a terrible launch, and it didn't really work for 9 months. But my God, that game was fun. That was such a fun game. When
the vehicle design in particular, and this is just talking about general skill gap, right, in the gameplay. The infantry had depth. The vehicle design, the best ever in like a casual combined arms video game, and has yet to be topped.
Mm-hmm.
It really does. The vehicles, ever since BF4, have suffered mechanically. And a lot of people think it's silly. Like, they look at high-level jet gameplay or vehicle gameplay with jets in BF4, and they're like, oh, he's just looping around. It's like, no. There's a lot more under the hood here. He's,
oh my God, yeah.
He's cutting and he's looping and he's using ECM to take himself off radar, and he's keeping his speed control flawless, which you actually have to do. To turn perfectly, you have to turn at 313, whatever like unit they used in that game. And it was actually incredibly difficult. And some would even argue the skill gap there was actually too high. Because,
but again, like you were saying, it was easy. Like, if you wanted to get in a jet and fly it, you could probably do that. You might be able to even get a couple of strafes before you get taken out. So you could do it. Yeah. But the design allowed you to go further. And if you wanted to, like, quote unquote, specialize in being a jet pilot and being a good jet pilot for your team, you could make such a difference to a game by being that player.
You could control the whole game.
Yeah, exactly. You could allow all those people on the ground to make the move one way or the other. And again, like, BF4 is a great example of that, where I always look at 2042, and for me, the example is the weightless little bird. The fact that people can do these insane things with it, and I'm like, that's not fun. That's just poorly designed. That's not been thought through properly.
The physics in
Oh,
particular
man.
are really
Yeah.
bad.
They're really
They're
bad.
really
But
wonky
again,
looking.
and that's the thing. I think they went with 2042. They were like, right, we need mass appeal. So let's just make it easy to do that. And it's like, no, that's not the point.
I
The
just think
point
that
is
was
it should-
shit design. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Yeah, it may well have been. I mean, the game was definitely not ready when it launched. So, and as far as I'm aware, it's not changed. Like people still fly little birds like that in the game all right now. It's not much better than what it was when it
I
launched.
think it's pretty much the same. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, like you say, it's having those elements in a game that allow you to have fun and allow everyone to have a good time, but also an additional layer on top where the better players or somebody who's more experienced at least knows those things exist and can take advantage of them at some point.
And just to round this off, by the way, having gameplay mechanics is fucking fun. Like, some people are like, oh, I never want to see you jump and shoot. I never want to see this. Never just want to see that. It's like, what? I don't know, man. It's like, you just have less fun than I do, I guess. Like, it's for some of these people. It's like, what the fuck?
No, I mean, I get it.
It's not
like,
rock, paper, scissors.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, there are elements in games where like things are more powerful in certain situations than others. But then if you end up maybe on the receiving end of that a couple of times, but there's probably so many examples where you end up in the advantageous position. And of course, you never consider that because you're the one stomping on people at that point. So like, there's always going to be a little bit of that when it comes to like people talking about a skill gap. I think it's like quite a personal thing because if you don't inherently like that thing that's been created, you're going to hate it. But if you're someone who actually does vibe with it and can do really well out of it, of course you're never going to complain about it. So it goes both ways. Both ways.
So I wanted to touch on another element. We talked about movement a little bit. Let's talk about the gunplay. Yep. So there's been this shift away from a system that utilizes spread and you control that spread or mitigate that spread with burst firing to this more laser beam gunplay thing. And it was a huge problem in 2042 at launch. I would love to see them take a more BF3/4 direction with the gunplay because a lot of people overlook this and complain about spread, but spread is essential to Battlefield gameplay because it regulates engagement distance. And burst firing allows you to mitigate spread, and better players can reach out to a farther distance with their weapons. It adds a skill gap, and it's essential to gameplay. And 2042 proves that, in my opinion, because at the start of 2042, I mean, I have some clips too. Equip the LCMG. I'm full standing strafing from 150, 170 meters, and I'm actually beaming some people from that far away in 2042. That is just objectively broken, and it does ruin gameplay in that regard. I would love to see them move away from laser beam gunplay. What would you like to see them do with that?
I mean, again, I'm coming from a franchise that literally gives console players magnetism with their bullets and their gun because it just locks on to players. So, you know, I mean, COD is inherently a very console-heavy game. So it's one of those things where I mean, I have my own issues with the gunplay of that game. So I'll stick to Battlefield. I mean, in playing lots of different Battlefield games, I'm going to be with you here. My favorite gunplay was BF3. That's the game that I put on PC. Like for me at the time as a student, like 1,500 hours into the AK is my most used gun. I absolutely wore the hell out of that thing, and I knew exactly how the recoil pattern worked. I knew with movement and what I was doing, how it was going to affect the gun. I basically knew what distance it was effective and what distance it wasn't, and then also, can I burst this gun to get like a few hits on this guy and maybe get a kill at ultra long range?
You know when to burst it. And Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4 had recoil patterns, but the big thing about those recoil patterns is they were horizontally biased. And I'm just going to shoot a wall right now. I mean, you can watch my stream. This is how 95% of 2042 recoil patterns are in this game. It is a literal vertical line. There's no horizontal bias here. So
and that also, like, if you want to, that gives the weapon absolutely no personality. Every gun feels the
zero
same.
Identity, zero like unique aspect. One of the most unique weapons that I loved using in Battlefield 3 in particular was the G3A3. Dude, the sound of the gun.
That was so good.
God. I don't think they've topped
on that thing. That was so good.
Yeah, I don't think they've topped that weapon sound since.
No,
I really don't.
The only, like, I was a big fan. Like, Bad Company 2 is such an old game now that it's barely relevant in this conversation. But if you want to play a game with weapon identity, like each weapon being very distinctly different from the other, play Bad Company 2. Like, honestly, the AN-94 in that game versus the M416, it's night and day. The guns are completely different. And, like, you had some mains that were like, I never touch another gun. I'm literally only using the AN-94 because I love the burst fire. I know exactly how it works. But
Yeah.
again, like, it had personality. Those guns felt uniquely different. And like, if you want to use something that's, if you wanted a faster rate of fire, there were guns for you. But like, it wasn't just like, and that's one thing about 2042, right? If all guns don't have any horizontal recoil and only have vertical, well then why would you not use a gun that's just got a high rate of fire at close range and you're going to beat everybody? That's just it boils it down to it's too simplistic. It's too simplistic. And again, maybe the reason they made it simplistic is because they thought they were trying to appeal to certain audiences, but it never had that additional layer beyond the basic gunplay that allowed for more dedicated players, people who like playing the game more than a casual, to sort of learn and continue to experience and have more fun in a game. Because like, if you just know the base level of how to use a gun all the time, do you not get bored eventually just doing the same thing over and again? What if a gun has a certain like hooky recoil pattern where it's got like a big like vertical slightly right after 4 bullets that a good player knows about, and they're like, right, I'm going to stop the burst after 3 bullets because otherwise I'm not going to hit my target. Like, those are the kind of things I like thinking about. And then it's really cool when you like when you
actually do it, you know.
Yeah, when you actually do it, and
or you know a weapon has a really hard recoil pattern, and you full spray right with both controlling it, and it just feels nuts because you're like, holy shit, I basically just, you know, controlled the recoil perfectly at distance, and it was really hard and it was rewarding. So
yeah, and that's the thing. And like, I agree with you. I think BF3 for me, that's my favorite Battlefield game. Like modern. I think for me, like Bad Company 2 is probably my favorite one. But yeah, like the best Battlefield game for me is Battlefield 3 when it comes to gunplay. I like BF4 as well. It's not far away. Like, there was something about BF3 that I just love the gunplay in that game. And it wasn't perfect. Like you say, there were still elements where I think they could have improved. But my God, did they have it nailed on with the gunplay in BF3?
Yeah, I agree. I think it stems from just the combination of, it's a delicate balance of the amount of recoil with how often you have to burst fire, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah.
In BF4, a lot of people complain, you know, Battlefield 4's spread increase per shot was a big sort of source of why I think some people were sort of frustrated with having to burst fire, because they just simply weren't burst firing enough, and they just felt their shots were completely missing, and they didn't understand why. So I think there's a delicate balance there where you can have burst firing be an essential mechanic in the game where you have to do it in order to actually hit targets at range.
Yep.
But you can tailor it to where it can be very slightly more accurate than Battlefield 4, and I think it would feel absolutely mint. I think it would feel incredible. And another thing people forget about is in BF3, 4, and 1, people always complain about, oh my god, where are my bullets going in gunplay? You're fully suppressed and you're not bursting, you know? So that's the double whammy of misunderstanding.
Yeah. I think that's one thing in BF4 that for a while, they ended up redesigning how suppression worked in that game, like quite a long time after launch. But
I'm not a fan of suppression at all. I don't think it should ever affect weapon accuracy. It should just purely be visual.
Yeah, just make it a visual effect, man. Like, make it a visual effect. Like, BF3's suppression visual effect with, like, it looks like someone had breathed all over your screen, and you could just see their, like, breath, and you could just wipe their breath away. Like, that was a cool effect. It's just that the implications of what that did to your gun was too severe. It was way too severe. And that's the thing. I actually think people have PTSD from those days of playing those Battlefield games.
They do.
Of why people hate suppression so much. If suppression had never ever been anywhere near as prevalent, but it did still impact a little bit of what happened with your bullets, I think people would actually have been okay with it when it first launched. But because they went so heavy on it, that's just a typical DICE thing. They're like, we're either going to do it all one
They go
way,
0 or 100, dude.
0 or 100, and they went 100 with suppression, and then people were like, nah, I don't like this, mate. It's not great. If they'd have done it at like 10 or 15, and it'd been like, oh yeah, I'm being suppressed. I can't hit my bullets anymore. I should take cover. People might have actually got on board with it, because it is a casual mechanic. Like, it would fit into a Battlefield game.
Yeah, it's... I have some thoughts about that, but...
but it's just like, they just... Yeah, and so I think a visual effect, I think it's great. I think a visual effect would be really cool, because, again, having an indicator on your screen that you are being shot at and you should maybe take cover is a good idea. But having it actually affect your bullets is probably not a great idea.
Just have it be a visual effect and call it a day with that.
Absolutely.
All right, well, if there's anything else you want to specifically touch on, now is the time to bring it up, because we're been going for a little bit here. It's been a fucking awesome conversation. By the way, a lot of people, I think, I don't really know. I see the connotation online sometimes that you're, siding with DICE all the time and all this sort of stuff, and you're like a EA shill. But I don't know, chat. He doesn't sound like an EA shill to me right now. It doesn't.
I think the reason that's come about is like, I mean, I did a lot of work with EA around Battlefield 1. Like, I was the guy on stage when they revealed it. They asked me if I wanted to be up there. I was part of the Game Changers program for the game before it was revealed. I had a lot of... I'd been to several events, so they were like, can we get you on stage? And like,
you were involved with the game.
Yeah, like, they asked me to come in and play it, and they asked me for my opinions. They asked me for feedback. And then when it came round towards reveal, they were like, oh, it'd be cool if we could have one of our game changers on stage, and they could, like... It was structured questions, so I knew what questions they were going to ask me. It's a reveal show. Of course, they're not going to let you just, like, ad-lib and say whatever you want. They would never let you do that.
Of course not.
But, of course, I was like, yeah, I'm more than happy to do that. It's not a problem. That's absolutely fine. And then it sort of, from that point on, I think a lot of people used me as a visible target for their anger towards certain opinions, decisions and stuff like that. And I totally get it. I get it. And I'm much older now, so it doesn't bother me anymore. And at the time, like, it did bother me, because I was like, well, guys, this is not what's happening. But, it's the internet. People will believe whatever they want to believe. And I'm now at a point where I'm like, well, I'm not going to convince you. I'm not going to waste my time convincing you if you don't want to be convinced.
Of course.
But all I'll say is like, yeah, I did obviously give lots of opinions about stuff that I didn't like in BF1, and the same for BF5. I was heavily critical of BF5 from the beginning. I was heavily critical of 2042 as well. And like, a lot of people thought that I wasn't, and it's because I think I was an easy target. So maybe that just sort of spread around as a general opinion. But times have changed. I've played COD for 5 years now, so people don't want me to play Battlefield anymore. I just play COD. They don't want me playing Battlefield anymore.
They don't understand the content creator necessity, you know what I mean? Like, listen, Battlefield for a little while here has not pulled in any sort of fucking interest, so... Yeah, like, and what do you want to do?
That is a big reason why I stopped. I mean, there was a part of me, I just couldn't play BF5 anymore, and a lot of my friends had started playing Modern Warfare 2019. They'd started playing Ground War, and like for a few weeks we played Ground War, and then Warzone launched, and we were like, oh my god, this is so much fun. I was just playing with my friends. That's what made it fun. I was actually enjoying a game with my friends. And I hadn't done that for Battlefield for like 18 months. I was like, not even my friends enjoy playing this game. I don't enjoy playing this game. Why don't we just not play this game?
Yeah, why don't we just not play the game?
No, let's play something else. And that was my same thing with 2042. I played it for 2 weeks. Unfortunately, I didn't enjoy it. And so I just stopped playing it and played something else instead. So, yeah, I mean, I might always have that moniker of being an EA shill. But, like, if anybody is interested in me giving my side of the story here, I've done plenty of telling EA what they should do. And it was a lot of the time they didn't agree. And we still gave those opinions, and whether they listened or not, that is totally up to them. I cannot convince them any more than me just simply saying what I think. And I did that for BF1, I did it for BF5, and I didn't get the chance with 2042, actually. I was never involved with any of the 2042 behind the scenes, so...
Damn.
Maybe they got fed up with me.
Well, Westie, it's actually... Well, this game is your entire design vision, clearly.
Oh, yeah, this is my favorite game.
Yeah.
I love this game.
Of course.
Nah, it's cool, man. It's all good.
So one funny thing I want to round this off with. So we went from having each other blocked on Twitter to this moment right here. Thoughts on that? That's pretty funny.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. Again, I think it's all a part of, like, a bit of like maturity, growing up, and being like, I think we're all just doing our own thing. It's all good to have different opinions, and like, it's all good if people talk the way they talk and say things the way they want to say them. It really doesn't matter. At the end of the
Yeah.
day, life goes on. You're gonna have your opinion. I'll have mine. Sometimes we'll agree. Sometimes we won't. That's just the way. And like, that's my ethos now. It's like, yeah, they'll do what they want to do. I'll do what I want to do. If we have the same opinion, great. If we don't, then it doesn't really matter either, does it? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
All right, and the last thing I'll ask you is, what is your experience being a content creator surrounding Battlefield been like for this time, like stretching back from BF3 all the way to right now? Obviously started at the end of BF1. I've only ever seen like basically failure and bad games with the Battlefield franchise, and I have gotten a ton of shit, and I'm just seen as like this guy that complains about Battlefield all the time, but I feel as though I've had really no choice. So how has your experience been with the whole changing dynamic of that time?
I think, yeah, it's been really interesting, especially because like the type of content has changed so much as well. Like BF3, you could play the game and make videos about specific weapons very easily. And like at that time, like online video stuff just wasn't as big as it is now. So like if you did get a video that did well, a lot of the time you double down on that. You look at channels like Level Cat from back in the day. He had those very formulaic, very structured videos. And the reason he did them is because they did so well and he was the only one doing it. So like back then, it was very easy to make not emotionally charged content, whether that's positive or negative.
Absolutely.
You could be very neutral, very middle of the ground, be like, hey guys, today I'm going to use this gun. Here's the positives. Here's the negatives. Here how I think you should use it.
Or like loadout.
Just
and that type of content nowadays, from my experience, like covering Battlefield, you can't upload a fucking loadout video nowadays.
No, you
Hey
can't.
guys, I'm gonna base this loadout off of a Russian soldier. Like, okay, that's 1,000 views in 4 days. Like,
exactly. So like when you think back then, like you're looking like 2012, 2013, that kind of extended into BF4. BF4 was in that same sort of realm. It was very different back then. You could make commentaries on anything. You could make videos on almost anything. There were content creators. I don't know if you ever heard of the YouTube content creator One Cheesy Mofo. He used to make daily Battlefield like live commentaries where he would just take a gun, he would play the game, he would just play the match out, live commentate it, and then upload it. And the guy was pulling in 50 to 100K views a day on that content because
you can't do that.
you can't do it, yeah, but he did it because people were like, yeah, this game's fun. I play this game all the time. It'd be nice to watch someone else. Oh, they got a cool gun out of that. Or they did this in the game. I'm going to try it. So you know, it was more general. Then it came to BF1. BF1 had that push outside of the traditional like core Battlefield audience. There were more people involved. I think it helped that it was like a historical game. So you could make some good historical content. I did a whole series where I like took all the guns and I would like, most people are like, what the hell's this gun? I don't even know what this gun is. Like, how did they make it? How do they do it? Because it was like no gun they'd ever seen before. It's not an M4, right? People don't know what it is. So I made a whole series about like going into the history of how the gun was made and all that kind of stuff.
I remember you doing that.
People love that stuff, and that was great because it was a game that had that historical like interest into it. So there were people like, oh yeah, maybe I'd like to learn about that. And I got some great videos out of that, and I actually enjoyed learning a little bit about the history of some of these guns and some of these armies that like, I'd never heard about before. So BF1 kind of like it was a good time, at least for the first like 6 months. And then do you know what? That's probably where I would say the tide started to turn. It was probably early 2017, like maybe like March, April time, just after they did that.
I started streaming in May of 2018.
Right. Okay. So still, yeah, because May 2018 would put you before BF5, right?
Yes.
BF5 was 2018. Okay. Right. Yeah. So, and I think what happened is that BF1 used the premium model in an age where lots of games had started already to move to live service and not paying for updates. I think BF1 suffered because of that in terms of like just where it tailed off in popularity because you had to buy the season pass to get access to the content. So you had to be financially invested in the ride in order to benefit from it. Whereas a lot of other games, like especially Fortnite at that point, 2017 was when they first released the Battle Royale, and PUBG as well. PUBG was massive in 2017, absolutely huge. Those games had, I mean, I know PUBG was paid, but the updates they did were free. And so, like, you didn't have to be as financially invested in order to, you know, be part of it. So, like, I think that's where the content for Battlefield started to sort of deviate from, oh, new map, new gun, let's make commentaries, let's do gun build reviews, let's do historical videos about stuff like that, because less people were involved, like, financially invested in that, because you had to actually pay to do it. So then they came around to BF5. I think BF5 had probably one of the worst initial impressions of any Battlefield game, because I'd actually argue 2042 had a very good initial impression from that trailer.
The trailer. People always forget the BF5, the initial BF5 trailer was a complete nightmare.
It was a disaster, dude. It was an absolute travesty, that trailer. I mean, don't get me wrong, visually the trailer was stunning. It's just what the direction they took
was beyond hilarious.
Yeah, it was not the direction. Plus, also, I do think there was a little bit of historical fatigue for Battlefield, because we'd had 2 historical games in a row. We did World War I, which I think was actually a masterstroke, by the way. But like doing a World War I shooter, like, and the way they did it was so atmospheric. I know it's a little bit polarizing. Some people not a huge fan of BF1. Like, BF1 is just so unique. It's unreal. But doing another historical shooter right afterwards, I think, was a big mistake. I think they should have done a modern
shooter after.
You know, maybe even Cold War 90s kind of thing. You know, people.
I've been asking for a Cold War Battlefield for the better part of like 5 or 6 years. I really have. I think that's a cool fucking setting, dude.
Yeah,
the whole sort of like just aesthetic, you know, Russian faction with like all the, you get some, you know, wood furniture AKs out. Dude, come on, it'd be so cool. Like, fuck.
And the vibe would be amazing, because it's like this era of like technology and the internet just starting to bubble away in the background. So like you could get these like scenarios in a Battlefield game where like you're fighting on like in like some urban streets with like really rudimentary like early Cold War weapons, and suddenly someone whips out like a more advanced weapon and like they introduce it, and it's like suddenly you're jumping 5 years further forward in the Cold War. It'd be really cool. That'd be very cool. But yeah, BF5 was the start of mass negativity for Battlefield. Like, we'd ridden high off of BF3 was insane. BF3 was like, it's so far in the past now. It's hard to remember how popular, how much BF3 was a good game. BF4, like, people remember the launch. That was a low point. Then it goes up all the way after launch. The post-launch support for BF4 was phenomenal, including all the CTE,
the DLCs,
extra support that Dice LA did, all of that kind of stuff. It was amazing. So they were riding high after that. Then BF1 shoots it up even further. It starts to go down a bit. Just interest just starts to wane in the post-launch support of BF1. Okay, fine, whatever. BF5 was just the wrong direction. It was just the wrong direction. Trying to make YouTube content around that.
I will almost never forgive them for fucking up a World War II Battlefield game in the way they did, because now we're gonna have to wait God knows how long for another one. If we may never get, who knows? They may never release another one again.
No, and you look at it as well. I mean, the game you're playing right now is called 2042. This was supposed to be like a prequel to their 2142 game. This was like a game that I remember DICE saying, "This is the Battlefield we've wanted to make." Okay, cool. But then again, now if DICE are ever going to, or EA are ever going to attempt making another somewhat futuristic Battlefield game, I mean, like, people are going to be skeptical now because they're like, well, the last one you did was terrible, so why would this one be any different? So yeah, BF5 was the start of that negativity, trying to make YouTube content that, even there were good parts of BF5, there were some good stuff in there, but if you made any positive content about it, it just resulted in...
it came off as like, are you paying attention to what the fuck's going on? Like, are we ignoring this? Like, what?
And the thing is like, I made plenty of videos all around all the TTK changes for BF5, and then the thing is like, I covered that because it was part of the game's life cycle, and it was my job to cover it because, you know, I'm a content creator. That's what I do. But honestly, that was already the start of a downward for me. Like, I was struggling to really deal with the constant negativity that was surrounding that game. Not even just directed at me, but just in general, being surrounded by that negativity was
And
really,
that is
really
absolutely where I'm at, because I mentioned I started basically at the tail end of BF1. I essentially missed it. So I've only been in that permanent cloud of negativity. And people shit on me for that. I'm like, bro, what do you realistically want me to do? Like, what opinions do you want me to hold about this content? Yeah. Like, okay, they canceled BF5. What do you want me to do? Make a fucking video? Hooray! Great news!
Yeah, they finally listened. Oh, wait, now we've got
wonderful news, guys. The Battlefield franchise is at a fucking new low.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. And the thing is like, when I transitioned to Warzone, the reason it was like, I loved it. It was so fun. It was so... As a content creator, you want to enjoy the games you're playing because it makes it easier for you to cover the game.
Absolutely.
Because you are having fun. So therefore, you know, it's built into humans. Like, yeah, let's keep having fun because this feels good. So let's keep doing it. But with 2042 again, like after BF5, and I mean the trailer, man. Oh my god, the trailer! Come on, it's like the greatest FPS trailer ever made. It's so good. For 2042, that first trailer.
It's really good. Yeah,
it's such a good trailer because they listened from the BF5 trailer. They were like, yeah, let's not do that again. That was really bad. Let's not do that. Let's show a massive wide battlefield with loads of stuff happening, vehicles and like infantry pushing buildings and blowing stuff up.
And then the portal stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Just throw that stuff in there as well. They nailed it. They absolutely nailed that trailer. If they wanted the best first impression they could possibly get, that was it. It's just a shame the product was nothing like that. It was absolutely nothing like that.
God, I remember. Oh, yeah.
But, you know, and that, again, that actually, I think, made it even worse because people had, like...
No, because they got baited.
Yeah, they were finally like, yes! They listened after, let's say, from mid-2017 to, like, all of BF5. So we're talking, what, like most of 2019? Like, all the sum of 2020? Something like that. You know, for like 3.5, 4 years, they weren't listening to us. They finally listened. They're finally making the game we want.
And this is why I say, hey, even when the BF6 trailer comes out, I don't care how amazing the leaks have said, I'm going to say, guys, the Battlefield trailer team is god tier. Okay, they made 2042 events where you play against AI look incredible. All right?
Oh, God,
so
yeah.
We need to take a step back and take the reveal trailer with a grain of salt. Do not get baited, all right? Like,
even if you're excited, cool.
No, exactly.
What happened before? Just remember.
People get on my case about that too. They're like, "Well, Enders, like, what?" They always say, "Well, if we can't be happy now, when are we supposed to be happy, Enders?" And I'm like, dude, fucking, when you play the game and you actually realize. Like, you have it in hand and you go, wow, this is actually incredible, you know? That's when you can be happy. The trailer should not fool you.
I mean, they are... I mean, I would be absolutely baffled if they don't have the marketing team working absolute overtime for this game because it's important to them that there is a good first impression, right? And I think they've kind of got that soft first impression from all the labs leaks, which we mentioned earlier, which is why I think they've not taken as strict a stance in getting stuff taken down immediately. They kind of let things fester a little bit. Like they weren't as hot on. I think that first wave of leaks, you know, that very first test that they publicly said they were going to do or whatever they said, like, I think when they revealed that like 11 seconds of gameplay or whatever it was in that at the end of that video they did. And then they were like, oh yeah, we're going to talk about labs. And we're like, we'll do a test soon. That first test was all over Twitter. And I've got to be honest, they did take stuff down real quick. But a lot of people, before that got taken down, they were like, nah, dude, this looks pretty good. Like, this looks quite fun. Like, they're playing, okay, fair enough. It's like alpha, you know, things aren't finished.
It kind of, it greenlit people to, I suppose, care even more, you know?
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like right now, like all those leaks that are coming out, they're not showing me a game that I don't want to play. They're showing me a game that looks quite fun, and I would be interested in playing. But again, I can't stress this enough. I don't want to talk for anybody. I don't want to tell anybody what to do. But like, just genuinely, just have a little bit of restraint. just try and keep your emotions like under check. Like none of this like, oh, let's go, this is amazing, it's incredible. You don't want, like, if you do too much of that.
That was an awesome like American fucking like excited voice. That was crazy.
No, I've played COD for too long, mate. This is it's part of my character now. But no, I like you'll get carried away. You will get carried away, and you don't like. There's been a lot of false dawns for Battlefield the last 4 years. There has been a lot, if you want to boil it down to that. So unless you're playing the game and actually enjoying it, then maybe just show that little bit of restraint and like keep everything. Because like if you expect less and it's fun, you'll end up enjoying it more. If you expect less and it's not that great, well then you didn't get that hyped and therefore it's not a big deal. Like it is what it is. You know? It's one of the, I hate being that way because like, you know, everyone wants to be excited and you want to be happy. I get it. I would love to be able to be like, holy shit, guys, it's gonna be so absolutely incredible. Wow, like the DICE is, you know, gotten our trust back. They're so locked in. We're back. But dude, for me, I'm not calling it until I get my hands on the game day one of that game coming out and I fucking go live for the first time, and I might not say a word for the first like 3 hours of gameplay, really. I've said this to people. I go, people, you know, for me personally, they always say, oh, Ender's fucking, you know, Ender's talks too much at the beginning of release. Like, just learn how to play it first. But, you know, I've been around Battlefield and I really have a deep understanding of the game. I can make quick predictions of like certain things. But when I get my hands on BF6 for the first time, I might not actually say anything for the first 3 hours of that stream. And just fully immerse myself in exactly what they've just released. Put a little notebook next to you and then just side-eye your camera when you want to put something negative and write it down on a notepad and then just look back at the game again. No, it's good to be skeptical. Like, genuinely it is, because I'm not, and let's zoom out from just Battlefield here.
They need to prove to us.
Yeah, but like the general gaming space is full of products that don't work properly. Like I play COD 4 days a week. That game is held together with silly string, sellotape, and blue tack.
And aim assist.
It's so far away from being polished. It's unreal. Is it still fun in moderation? I'd argue yes, but there are some serious issues with that game.
Oh yeah.
And that's not the only one. Like, if you want to talk more generally, like the cheating problem with video games right now is really bad across the entire space.
2042 uniquely and strangely, especially compared to BF5. I've seen maybe 7 cheaters.
Yeah, that is one
total
thing I can. Right, the one really good thing about 2042 was Portal. Portal as a concept was great. It just never had enough content and never got added to. So
okay, we can touch on Portal here very briefly. I think Portal as a concept was actually executed horrifically.
Okay, go for it.
Because, and I'll go look at it right fucking now. But anyway, actually, you know, we will. So Portal as an idea sounds really cool. But in my opinion, the reason why I think it was executed poorly is you can't give the Battlefield community the amount of freedom they gave in Portal. I mean, let's just take a fucking look real quick. Look at this. Afghanistan War Sim, El Alamein 24/7, friendly fire on, fast vehicle, and this happens to be 1,000% damage. 1,000% damage. Redacted 24/7 PvP bot servers, right? They need to have some sort of restrictions or streamline what you can do in Portal, or else people will continue to make things that nobody really wants to play. And I'll stand completely on business on that. Implement, if you have to, heavy server creation restrictions on Portal. You can't let them even slide the ticker for damage up to 1,000%. You shouldn't even have to. Like,
you shouldn't be able to do that.
You shouldn't do that. It should be 150% max or something.
Yeah, there should be a hardcore damage preset that's predetermined that then actually works with the weapons, and then go from there.
Well, that actually works with the weapons is a very important point, because a lot of people make hardcore servers that throw the balance completely out the window. But, you know, in my personal opinion, you shouldn't even be able to make hardcore. But perhaps, perhaps that's a conversation for a separate podcast, you know?
I think that's the thing with Portal. It was trying to give us back what the server rental system was for BF3 and BF4.
Yes.
And how is it that those systems were more well policed than the current system, which the current system is built directly into the product, like it's there in the menu, whereas the previous system with BF3 and BF4, like you had admins of dedicated communities that were out there policing the system.
Bring back platoons, by the way. Just want to throw that out. But
platoons would be cool. Platoons would be cool. I think that would be fun. But like Portal as a concept, like great idea. It's just it had some good stuff in it at launch. It's just, again, I think with 2042, because of how poorly received it was, things got deprioritized very quickly after launch, and I'm pretty sure Portal was one of those things. But like, for the, I'm trying to think of like, oh, the other thing we were talking about was cheaters across the gaming space. Like, when we speak more generally, like we were trying to be like, don't get too hyped about stuff. Like the cheating epidemic across gaming at the moment is insane. It is actually insane. Like there are so many bad actors out there creating programs that are there purely to get through all of the safeguards or some safeguards that more dev teams have more than others. But like you say, like 2042 is kind of in this weird space where, because Stod often plays it, like he plays it on a Sunday or something, and he always says, he's like, no, I don't get any cheaters in my games. And I'm like, that's insane, because normally you'd expect a product that's not doing that well, that doesn't have a huge
to be infested
players, to be infested with players who are trying to manipulate it as much as possible. And that's the complete opposite for 2042, which must mean that EA has done something right.
I vividly remember at the beginning of the game, there was something from an actual cheat developer that said, we can't make the cheats work on the game. So my theory is there aren't many cheats for the game.
Because it's too hard to do even the basic stuff, even just to get like an aimbot or a wall hack working in the game.
Yeah, and of course, some of the comments are going to be, well, Anders, you would know a lot about that when you... never get fucking... I can't catch a break on Reddit.
I think the benefit of it is that 2042 launched with its own anti-cheat system, like, in it as a starting product. It was there from day one. It was there during the but it was never added afterwards, which is Warzone's biggest issue. They launched without an anti-cheat and then shoehorned one in. So there's always going to be ways for them to work around it. 2042 appears to have started with one in it, and it seems to be quite good, I guess. And so they've benefited from that.
And they're moving towards having secure boot being turned on for the next game. That's why they're forcing it on in 2042 to adapt more of the player base for when BF6 comes out, because obviously BF6 it's going to have secure boot as a requirement to play the game for sure.
You'd expect it. You'd expect it.
But one thing that's really potentially really bad about BF6 and cheating is the Battle Royale. It's rumored to be free to play, dude. That's going to be huge to keep cheater free. And Warzone, of course,
yeah,
you have the modern perspective of that because you play it.
I come across cheaters literally every single time I play the game. Some days it's better, some days it's worse. Like even today, I streamed for 4 hours. I came across, I think I had 3 games where we had cheaters in them.
Okay.
And like they're not even like ones that are like doing well to hide what they're doing. Nah, these are just
full blatant,
brand new level 11 character who's got the max level camo. He's got calling cards he shouldn't have. And he's literally one-shot headshotting people from like 1,000 meters away. And the anti-cheat system doesn't detect it. And I have to report him and wait probably 90 minutes to get a notification 4 games later saying, oh, by the way, we banned them. Thanks for that.
They actually ban them.
They do ban them.
Wow.
But it takes 90 minutes for it to happen, which makes me think that Call of Duty doesn't have an anti-cheat. It just has a reporting system. It's not an anti-cheat if it's not actually doing anything to stop people cheating. If it waits for me to report someone and then they check the account, or they use AI to check the account after I've reported it, and then they ban them for ridiculous statistics or whatever it happens to be for such a low-level account, that's not an anti-cheat, brother. That's just a glorified reporting system. I'm doing the job for you. It's crazy. So if there's any way that the next Battlefield game could have I'm not saying it doesn't have to be foolproof. It's never going to be. There's always going to be issues here and there, and like that's just the nature of where we are with the gaming industry. But like, if it's a good anti-cheat and I'm not seeing cheaters every day, if I see like one every week, I'll be fine with that. Honestly, I'd be fine with that these days.
Yeah, anything to avoid the situation that I was in BF5 where I was getting stream sniped by 4 Chinese aimbotters for literally 6 months and I could not play the game.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty awesome.
I think also one thing that modern gaming could do better across every single game, and I'm not just saying this because I'm a content creator, but can we please make anonymous mode something that games have as standard? Not just not just a streamer mode, an anonymous mode, because then that way, if you just don't want your like actual account name showing up, if you don't want people knowing like that you're playing the game, just put an anonymous mode in there. Anybody could use it. It just scrambles the names of you and other people so that people can't track what you're doing. And then that way, everybody's safe. Can we just make that like a standard thing for games these days?
Yeah,
that would be amazing.
A lot of people would say it's kind of a non-issue, but it really is just sort of a basic thing that should be in the game just because it doesn't take too much effort to put it in the game anyway. So yeah, and just like, it fixes some shit, so just do it.
Yeah, put an anonymous mode in there because, like, let's face it, even people that aren't suffering from, like, being harassed in game by players, like, there's still chat in game. A lot of people turn chat off. They don't want to use it. They don't even want people saying their name over comms or anything like that. You know, people are people. Let them do what they want. So give them anonymous mode. Let them turn it off. Because on the back end, if they're using it nefariously, let's say they're trying to obscure the fact they're cheating or whatever, and they put anonymous mode on there, they won't find me. No, the game still knows what your name is.
Of course.
People that are playing it. So, like, it's all still there. It's just, like, I think an anonymous mode for everybody, like, would be great. And then that way, again, it cuts down on these scenarios, especially, and I think it's actually, when you talk about content creators putting it back into that context, it's a bad look if you're streaming the game and you're being harassed openly. It's a bad look for the product.
I have said this for fucking years. Oh my god, dude. I remember when Dr. Disrespect streamed Battlefield 4, and within, I'm not even joking, 10 minutes, there were multiple people with custom, like, Dr. Disrespect emblems and account names stream sniping him, basically making the game completely unplayable. Same thing happened to Shroud in Star Wars Battlefront 2. If you have humongous content creators that are getting harassed off the game, that is really bad for the game's picture, and a lot of people like to dumb it down like, oh, it doesn't matter, he's a fucking content creator just like everyone else. Well, he happens to have 20,000 people watching him, so you would think that maybe you would care about your game's perception from a larger community standpoint, and maybe you want Shroud to play the game and not be constantly harassed and followed by cheaters and fucking, like, doxed, potentially, like he could have been in Star Wars Battlefront 2.
Yep.
Star Wars Battlefront 2 has insane, like, probably the worst cheating / doxing situation I've ever seen in a game ever. To the point where I refuse to boot the game up.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, I don't understand why, like, there are some companies that know how big of a deal it is, and it makes sense because, like you mentioned, like, big content creators, they've got all those people watching them live. We also live in an era where there are YouTube channels and Instagram accounts, TikTok accounts that literally chop up other people's content and post it to make it go viral.
Yep.
Like, those clips are really damaging because they could be viewed by millions of people out of context, even of like of who the content creator is in it. But they just see Battlefield has a massive cheating problem. Oh, I won't buy that game. I won't play that game now. And then they'll never, ever go back and play that game. Even if they fix the problem, at that point, we were talking about first impressions earlier. At that point, it's too late. They've already seen that really negative perception of the game, and that's not good for the game. So surely, have the streamer mode, have the anonymous mode in from launch. It allows you to obscure all these things. It puts another barrier in the way for bad actors and people to ruin the perception of the product, and it makes the environment for people to play in just better overall, because, like, if you want to be anonymous, just be anonymous. Like, it doesn't matter.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The option doesn't take. The solution is actually, or at least something that could help, is not difficult to put in the game, so you might as well do it.
And also, like, like for me, I have streamer mode in COD, right? But I had to have it given to me.
Mm.
So other people don't have it, and I do. So when I play Warzone, I play with Stod, Tactical Brit Lackey, and I play with Jaff. Like, only one of them, Jaff, he does not have streamer mode, which means as a group of 4,
They just stream
we are
snipe him.
then we get stream sniped because he doesn't have streamer mode. So then we all get stream sniped. So and we're like, why can't? And I've asked multiple times. I was like, can you please give Jaff streamer mode, because we play with him every day. It would be very helpful if we weren't stream sniped by these people. And I just think it's one of those things where it creates a tiered system as well, where some people are treated differently, and that's again not a really good look for your brand. Like, surely you want to treat every player of your game the same way, regardless. So if you have the tools in place to allow people to have those options for themselves from the moment they start playing, then you will never have a problem of a tiered policing system in your game. And like, it just doesn't sit very well with me. It's like, just have these tools available for people. If you want to turn them on, turn them on. If you don't want to use them, turn them off.
Absolutely. We're nearing about 2 hours now, so I think this will be a good point
sure.
to cut things off. If you have any last few things you want to mention here, just for perhaps we can get the official Westie prediction for BF6. And then we'll cut it off.
Right. Okay. So pretty much, I'll just tell you how I'm feeling. Like, before the announcement and the early part of the year, when they showed that like video with the 10 seconds of gameplay at the end, I was very much like, well, this is the last chance. This is the last chance for this game, right? Because like, I can't do another Battlefield game where I get excited and it's not very good. So, but again, I was very much like, I'm very cautious. And then I saw that gameplay and I'm like, all I'm seeing is BF3/BF4 urban combat vibes. And I'm like, okay.
I watched it. I'm like, where's the red flag?
Yeah, I'm like, what am I missing?
Okay,
here?
well,
What am I missing?
what's the fucking catch here, Dice? Like,
Yeah, what's the catch?
Does the game not have like functional mouse input again, or what's
and
happening?
Then they said, oh, we're gonna do public testing behind closed doors.
Yeah, I was like,
and I'm like, I was generally at that point, I was like, okay, you want to do behind closed doors testing, but you want to do the testing? Like, who? I mean, how did you convince them to let you do that? Like, how did you okay, fine. So basically you're going to do BF4 CTE before launch. I was like, okay, that to me, as a player who went through BF4 CTE and saw the benefit of it, I'm like, okay, that's got to be a good thing, right? They want to do public testing. They want to verify things before launch. Cool, I'm down for that. That seems like a sensible thing. But still, I'm like, but come on, what am I missing here? What's going wrong? And then I've got to be honest, the whole class debate has sort of clouded things a little bit, because I'm a bit like you. I'm like, okay, I'm probably going to play the game anyway, so it's not a major problem. But do you really want to take the fight here with the community? Is it worth you fighting them for it? I don't know. I don't know if there's any point, because it was the first opportunity for them to
listen to the community.
Listen to the community.
Which is, dude, I fucking said the exact same thing on Twitter.
Yeah, and like, I spoke to Stod like when I saw the blog post, and he was just like, are they really gonna like not do the classes? Because they said classes were back. They said it very early on. They were like, classes are back, and then they were like, with a twist. And I was like, there, right, okay. I was like, are you sure you want that fight? And it seems like they do want that fight. And I'm like, okay, fine. And then it's really strange, because then, like I said, like, all the reaction publicly to all the leaks and stuff, nobody's talking about the fact that the open weapons they're not talking about it really. Like, we as the Battlefield community are talking about it.
It doesn't seem to be an issue, I guess.
Yeah, from the wider like general gaming space, like for FPSs, it doesn't appear to be a major problem for people. As the Battlefield community, you know, the more dedicated players, the core players, yes, I get it. Like, it is more of an issue for us, because, like, you know, we play the game a lot more than those casual players. So let's put it that way. So I'm really conflicted, like, genuinely really conflicted. I don't actually know really how to feel. And I think I'm very much like you. I think I just want hands-on with the product. I want to be able to actually play this game, and then I'll know whether all the things I'm seeing that kind of excite me, that I'm kind of are in a positive direction, and then maybe the class thing is like a little bit like neutral, maybe slightly negative for me, maybe, you know, like, Am I looking at a good product? I'm looking at what I think is maybe a good product, but I haven't played it, so I don't. I can't feel it. I can't tell if I
Yeah,
actually.
I'll stop you there,
gonna be good.
Westie. We know you've played actually the Battlefield after BF6 already, so
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah,
It's
you can-
Battlefield 8.25.
really, really.
Yeah. But you know, like I just wanna. I'm very much like you. I think I've been burnt a couple of times. I want to play this game. I want hands-on before I really have any kind of yes, no, this is good, this is bad. And it's one of those things. It's no definitive. This is a good game. This is a bad game. By just looking at leaked gameplay on Twitter, there's no way to sort of verify that. For me, it has to be. I have to play the game. I guarantee you, there's going to be things I love about the game, and I guarantee you there will be things I don't like about the game. There will probably be a couple of things I despise about the game.
Yeah, can we keep that at a minimum, please? Thank you.
Yeah, of course, of course. Like, but is there enough good to outweigh the bad for me to enjoy the product and have a good time playing? That's ultimately what I'm looking for. And then sort of try and take the content creator side out of it a little bit, because I don't think it's very relevant to most people. Like, do I want to make content on it? Do I want to stream the game for a few hours? Do I want to play with my friends? Do I want to make videos on it of cool moments, especially those first couple of weeks after launch where we're just barreling around in
Can I play the game and not lose my fucking mind? That'd be awesome.
Absolutely, yeah.
Can I just really have just a chill fucking experience where like the game works and I don't disagree with 85% of the design from a fundamental standpoint?
Yeah, and like I just want to play the game. I just want to get those, like you said earlier, let's play the game for 3 hours and say nothing.
Yeah.
And then you can, but no, honestly, you need to play the game and actually feel it and get an idea for it before you can make a proper opinion of it. I want it to be good. I want it to be fun because I love Battlefield, and it would be great if I could play a Battlefield game in the last nearly 10 years and properly enjoy it, because the last one I properly enjoyed was BF1. It would be nice to play a Battlefield game again and have a smile on my face, because it's been a long time since that happened.
Amen to that.
Let's leave it there.
Sincerely, amen to that. So, that's pretty much going to do it for the podcast episode with Westie. I want to thank him for joining. Would love to have you back on for just, you know, maybe more like controversial things that come out for BF6. We can, if you would like, talk about that. That'd be, I think, quite fun.
I'd be down for that. Maybe we could do like, if they do like, I'm assuming they'll do a beta or something later in the year.
Yeah.
So maybe like around like maybe as that finishes, or like if there's a really, really controversial thing, maybe we could do. Yeah, but I'd be down for that, definitely.
Yeah. Maybe put in a good word with me for with Jack Frags, perhaps.
if honestly,
he'd
I know
never
Jack,
do this.
Like, honestly, I know Jack. I've known him for a long time. He's just he keeps himself to himself. He's a great guy.
I know.
Such a nice guy.
People have been asking. He's like, and just get Jack Frags. I'm like, I don't know how much pull you think I really have, bro. Like, what the fuck?
He is like he's like a myth, Jack. He's
a
not
mythical
real.
entity.
He's just a soundboard, really. You know.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it. Let me know who you would like to see me have on next. And drop a like, subscribe. Westie's links will all be in the description. Go check him out. And thank you for watching the Battlefield podcast. And then I'll edit that and it'll end and it'll be perfect and wonderful.